Hi again, this is Mike, and what we're going to do is we're going to start with talking about selections and how to select a variety of parts of your image working with selection tools. There are four types of selection tools that you'll be working with. One is for geometric selections. Basically, you can select things that are rectangular shape. And if I come back up here at the top on my toolbar, tool panel, I have the second tool down is my rectangle marquee tool. I can select things that are elliptical marquee, a single row and single column, which basically is just 1 pixel width and 1 pixel height, depending on which one you choose. So these are called geometric selections, and they basically select based on shape. They're rectangular or elliptical. Then you also have right below that we have freehand selections. So you have your lasso tool, your polygon lasso tool, your magnetic lasso tool. They all allow you to trace around an image because a lot of times an image is not a perfect square, perfect circle. So you're going to have to go in and utilize those lasso tools to trace around it, which can be difficult at times until you get to learn the lasso tool. And we have three choices here because there's different things that you'll see as we get into that will make it a lot easier. So like the polygon lasso tool, if you have edges that are straight, then the polygon lasso tool comes in to make it easier for you. So if you're trying to select a star, you can start clicking on the edges and it automatically adds the selection around it. And we're going to see that later. The other one we have what we call is edge base selection, and that happens to be the quick selection tool. Try to say that quickly. Quick selection tool, and it basically paints a selection by automatically finding the edges of the image. So it actually Photoshop created a tool and that will automatically look at where the edges of the image is, and it will basically select it. Now it's used kind of like using a paintbrush. Now it works great when you have a contrast between what you're selecting and the background. So if you don't have that much contrast between the two, then it's harder to select and use that tool. Then also within that tool selection we have the other type, which is color-based selections, and that happens to be the magic wand. The magic wand selects based on color, and you're going to see that as we go through. So if you have an image that's very similar in color and you want to select it entirely, take the magic wand and you click on that color and it'll select any color pixels that are adjacent to each other and hopefully get the entire thing selected. If not, there are features that you can add to your selection. Now we're going to concentrate on those tools as we go throughout. You're going to see different commands that you can use for each of these. But we have those four types: geometric selections, freehand selections, edge base, and color base. Now I'm going to start with basically coming down here to this tomato. I'm going to zoom in on it so that way we can see what's going on. I'm using the zoom tool to zoom in. I just brought my mouse in the middle of the tomato and I drag downward. And I'm going to go up, and since the tomato itself on a white background, it'll probably the best tool to work with this is probably the quick selection tool. And what I'm going to do here is very simple. I click on the quick selection tool, and you remember this tool here is used to create paints the selection by automatically finding the edges. So I'm going to start up here at the top edge of the tomato, and I'm just going to start painting. And as you see here, as soon as I start painting, it found the edge. It knew that the white around there, it says, hey, that's probably not part of the tomato, so it automatically selected it. And that's what I mean by a different contrast. It's a different color. So all I did was I started and I started painting, and automatically within a couple seconds it selected the whole tomato. Now with that selected, I'm going to go back out and zoom out so I can see the whole screen. So I'm going to click on the zoom tool. I'm going to click on fit screen. And then I'm going to take my move tool and I'm going to move it up here into this cutting board. So I'm going to move it up here to the left. Now once you move it, you're taking it from the location it was and you're moving over. And you can move it anywhere you want, and I'm going to deselect. Once I deselect, it becomes part of that background. So you can't really move it again unless you put it on a layer. Now we haven't talked about layers yet, and we'll have other videos about that. But right now I'm just going to go up to select, deselect, and the marching ants disappear, and now it becomes part of this background. The only problem you have here is that if I want to move that tomato again, you won't be able to, because it's part of this cutting board. So you have to make sure, if you're not using layers, you have the object in the right position. Let's take a look at another tool that I like to use a lot, the Marquee tool. The Marquee tools. So let me zoom in on these olives down. Now these olives happen to be an elliptical shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to my elliptical marquee. So I'm going to hold down my mouse on the rectangle marquee and choose the elliptical marquee. And here what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the top right hand corner or top left hand corner, and I'm going to drag down. Once I get this somewhat selected, you can see that it's not perfectly. And this happens to be because elliptical marquee, since you're creating an elliptical shape, when you're dragging downward, it's not going to get it perfectly. Don't worry about that. There's always additional steps you can do afterwards. So what you want to do is you want to get as close as possible. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to the select menu. I'm going to choose transform selection. And what this does, it puts a bounding box around the selected area, and you can resize the selection automatically. So I'm just going to take this bottom resizing and I'm going to drag it down. I'm going to take the top one and drag it down as well. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to get a perfect selection by resizing the selection. And all it is resizing the marching ants. It's not resizing the actual image. It's just resizing those marching ants around there. And once you're happy with what you got, then you press your enter key. You have to remember to press the enter key. Now remember, you start with the marquee, you get as close as possible, then you just go up to select, transform selection to modify it. Now I'm going to zoom back out. Now I'm going to zoom back out on I'm going to show you a shortcut. Instead of clicking on the zoom tool, I'm going to double click on the zoom tool, and you'll notice that I zoom in to 100%. Right above there's the hand tool. Double click on it, and that puts you to fit the whole screen, so that way you don't have to click on the zoom tool and then click on fit screen. Double clicking on the hand tool will zoom out. If you double click on the zoom tool, it will take you to 100% zoom, so it'll help you zoom in if you need to. Now I'm going to use the move tool. I'm going to move it up here, the olives. I'm going to bring my mouse in the middle and I'm going to move it up. Now what's nice about this, with the marching ants still have around the olives, I can use the arrow keys on my keyboard to move this up and down a pixel at a time. As you can see, it's moving up and moving down. It's a great way to nudge that area to position it where you want to. Again, we're just positioning it. We select an area, moving it over, and so we just took our elliptical marquee and able to bring it over. Now I'm going to deselect. This time I'm going to use a keyboard shortcut. I'm going to hold down the control key and I'm going to press the letter D as in David. That deselects and now becomes part of the background. I'm going to take my zoom tool and let's select something else that's more elliptical as well. I'm going to select the salads here. And so I'm going to come back up and use the elliptical marquee. This time what I'm going to do is I'm going to come right in the middle of the circle, and it is a perfect circle. And I'm going to hold down two keys. I'm going to hold down the shift key to create a perfect circle selection. I'm also going to hold down the alt key. The alt key, which is really a nice feature, allows you to select from the center point out. And you'll see this when I do this here. So I have the Shift key and Alt key. See how when I hold down the Alt key, it's going from the center point out? If I don't hold down the Alt key, you have to drag downward to the right. And again, that starts at the top right, or top left, and comes down, where the Alt key goes from the center point out. Now what's really nice with this, if you don't get everything selected the way you want, just again, remember, go up to Select, Transform Selection, and resize it to fit what you need. Don't forget to press your Enter key if you use the Transform Selection. I'm going to zoom back out. I'm going to move this up here in the top left-hand corner, or top right-hand corner of and we're going to do some other adjustments to it. I don't like the pink because I have a lot of greens in here, so I'm going to actually go in and I'm going to invert the colors, and when I invert it, it should go to green. So I'm going to go up to Image, Adjustments. I'm going to click on Invert, and it'll only affect the selected area. See, it went to green. It inverts the color, so if you have a color wheel, it just takes whatever color that it is now and puts it on the opposite end of the color wheel. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a little bit larger. So I'm going to go up and create, I want to make this little logo, this little image a little bit larger instead of what it is right now. And you have to have it, I have it selected. I'm going to go up to Edit, Free Transform. And I'm going to come to one of the resizing handles that you've seen before under Select, Transform Selection. Now when you do Select Transform Selection, here when you do Edit Free Transform, you're actually resizing the actual image. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key because I want to keep it proportional. If you don't hold down the Shift key, you can make something skinny, fatter, wider than it's supposed to be. So I made it a little bit larger. I'm going to press E to accept. Then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to duplicate that selected area. To duplicate with your Move tool selected, I hold down the Alt key, your mouse down, and I drag down to the right, or whatever position you want. You create a duplicate. Now I'm going to go up to Edit, Free Transform. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller than it is. Press my Enter key. I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to go, I held down the Alt key, I dragged it down to create another duplicate. I'm going to go up to Edit, Free Transform again. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Press my Enter key to accept it. And I got 3 of those shapes with different sizes. I'm going to deselect. So once you're done with the object, always deselect. I'm going to do a Control D. And there it is. Your marquee tools, you do have your rectangle marquee to select things based on rectangular shapes. When you do that, just remember that you are creating a rectangular shape. If you want a perfect square, hold down your Shift key. So the same shortcut key that you use for Elliptical Marquee will work here. Also, if you hold down the Shift and Alt like we learned before, it will do from the center point out and keep it a perfect square. And could you use the Select Transform Selection on this? Yes. Could you use Edit Free Transform? Yes. So pretty much once you learn one command, it's going to work for the other tools as well. So the rectangle marquees is to select something based on a rectangular shape. So in this part of the video, we concentrated on the marquees, the marquee tools, and we also use the tool down here for the quick selection for the tomato. In the other videos, we'll take a look at the lasso tools, and we'll also look at the magic wand as well.